and this is the point in the program that I introduce our guest analysts who will give us their personal take on the news and issues of the day. And tonight I'm joined in the studio by the journalist, political affairs commentator and Arise News analyst, Dr. Constance Ikokwu, and by the current affairs analyst and professor of communications at Baze University in Abuja, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi. Thank you very much indeed to both of you. Let me come to you first, Constance. Dr. Constance, how much do you think this incident in the hospital in Gaza has stoked tensions in the Middle East?
A lot. I mean, it's done two things. One is to raise the ante in the conflict, and the second thing is that it has also raised the temperature dramatically. Whoever did this, there are investigations ongoing. Israel says they didn't do it. The other group, Hamas, says it is Israel. When the investigations are concluded from all sides, whoever did this is already or has already lost sympathy at all, if there was any sympathy in the first place. And I think it is so atrocious because hospitals, whether in peacetime or in wartime, is somewhere where people get to seek help, go to seek help and to get help. No one will think that they will be bombed in a hospital. And secondly, it is off limits, under international law. It is forbidden to bomb that kind of place, because it is seen as a kind of refuge for people who are fleeing conflict and who need a sort of safety. So, of course, this type of behavior is going to have major repercussions. We have seen the repercussions already with President Joe Biden of the USA going to the Middle East for a Middle East tour, but then he's been turned down by the neighbors in the region. Egypt and Jordan, they were supposed to have a summit with him. Of course, the president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, who was supposed to have a meeting with him, also cancelled. But this is a deep-rooted problem with a long history of tensions between these two countries. And it is going to continue like this. No one knows whether anything tangible will come from this. I'm happy you broached the topic of ceasefire. For Israel, and I think for the other side, they are consistent with their missions and what they want to do. Israel to decimate completely Hamas and to degrade their capabilities to the extent that they're unable to launch an attack or attacks of this magnitude again. For Hamas, to continue to register their displeasure and to gain sympathy for what they see as an oppression in their own land. So developing story, we'll keep watching.
It's a bit of a muddle, isn't it, Prof?
Muddle, very confusing, very disturbing, and a major blight on global peace and global progress. But at the same time, despite the confusion, despite the convoluted case as it appears, at the end of the day, we'll still need to come back to the table, because there's no way these disagreements, these deep-seated animosities can continue. And it's literally the parties that are supposed to intervene are the parties that are being shunned. At some point, again, I think reason should prevail, really. United States is very influential in this matter. Do remember that it's often said in circles that Israel is like the 51st state of the United States of America. We've had their president, visiting Israel on the back of foreign affairs minister's visit. That's the very high level attention that they are giving to a war situation. And what will have expected that whatever it is, other parties involved should have just for a moment maybe forgo some things and, of course, allow some third-party intervention in a situation where other multilateral organizations, global organizations like the United Nations, can probably not have any bite in the circumstance. I do not forget that Israel looks very determined, and I don't see them shitting their swords in this regard. They're likely to continue the attack, the pummeling, and of course, we cannot deny the fact that this kind of untoward bombing may repeat itself again, going by how determined Hamas seems to be as well. And we may not necessarily go into the history of these things, very long, winding history. What we should be concerned about now is how to bring about peace, how to resolve the crisis. Well, and resolving the crisis will definitely require third-party intervention. And those third parties are, again, the parties that are refusing to come to the table. At the end of the day, they need to come to the table somehow.
That's actually a very good point, because one third party that's been talked about volubly as having the capacity to bring everyone to the table is the United States, and the ability to bring Israel, which would obviously be key to any discussion. In the past, that is what has happened. But given this trip, I mean, you mentioned Mr. Biden earlier, that it's become, this visit of Mr. Biden to Israel has become purely about showing support for Israel. To be blunt, it just looks like the White House and President Biden have lost the ability to talk to both sides, and they've lost the public in the Arab world, and they've lost the leaders in the Arab world, at least for now.
Yeah, exactly, because of this bombing, and that's the repercussions that I was talking about. Yes, Biden came to the Middle East. Eventually, he met the Israelis, and he did sympathize with those that lost their lives in the hospital and those that were wounded. And he did also imply that such a thing should not be happening, even in a war situation. On the other hand, he still said unequivocally that Israel stands that the United States stands with Israel. And that's what this Palestinian ambassador was alluding to, that even in the United Nations, it's difficult to get anything through, in terms of ceasefire, because the United States is fully in support of Israel.
And will veto anything, basically.
Exactly. So people are looking at it and seeing a double standard or a sort of hypocrisy. Yeah, the U.S. will say Israel needs to be protected. And then the Palestinian says, Israel is the aggressor. Israel is the oppressor. We are the victims. We are the ones that need to be protected. Or at least let there be a neutrality where each camp is brought to the table and they have, a genuine conversation. It's not an easy issue to deal with at all. Like we said, the history is long and winding. Yeah. And, there were, all international mediation or diplomacy attempts or diplomatic attempts and mediation and negotiations in the past have not put a lid on this conflict. It sort of closes it temporarily, and then after a while it flares up again. That's because each side has not gotten what the things that they believe that is due to them. The Palestinians want to have their own country. Everybody talks about the two-state solution. Every American president comes on board. They go and take these pictures and they, say, yes, there is a two-state solution that should exist. And yet nobody moves, the documents or the files to do anything. So they are really frustrated.
Prof, in terms of going forward, obviously this incident at the hospital, a terrible thing that happened, the explosion, hundreds of people reportedly dead, a lot of conflicting reports about who did it, but the one thing that is clear is that it's led to a lot of outrage globally, that this should not happen. I mean, you made that point yourself at the outset. Do you think it might move the needle in the direction of, staying the hand of Israel a bit, or will they be undeterred and this is just going to keep going and possibly get worse?
I don't think so, because I'm not sure they're satisfied yet with the supposed retaliation that they want to go all out for.
But given President Biden's visit, where he actually appealed to them, open a humanitarian corridor, all the rest of it, you think that might... Because some people are now saying that, hey, it's quite possible that the Israelis won't actually carry out a ground invasion.
Well, I remember, I think everything is just in the womb of time, really. I mean, yes, Biden was there, but do not forget, he also made some wonderful donation to assist those who have become victims of the war. But what I think is most important is for us to be concerned about how the peace process can be revived again. This is a process that comes up once in a while, and before you know it, it also dies down. And of course, we have to pay attention to the internal politics in the respective nation states, Israel for one, and of course Hamas as well. Palestine, as the case could be, the combustion, the disagreement between these places often lead to how they reflect, how they approach the peace process. I think the international community will keep going back to them. We'll have to find a way of reviving it so that they can be the resolution or the actualization of the much talked about two-state solution. But in talking about the two-state solution, what it also means is that one party that is supposed to be stronger, we have to make a little more concession, because if you are strong, faced with, a weaker, determined opponent, and of course that opponent is continually determined not to give you rest, not to give you comfort. Your so-called strength, will amount to nothing at the end of the day.
Prof, thank you very much indeed, and Doctor, thank you very much. Professor of Communications at Baze University in Abuja, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi, and Dr. Constance Ikokwu, who is a journalist, political affairs commentator, and Arise News analyst. Thank you. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Bye-bye, and thank you for watching.